It's WICR.
Iona College, good afternoon. Antonio Coppola and Matthew Brownstein back for another Sports Hour. Matt, how are you doing?
Good, sir. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I can't complain. Everything's good.
That's good. That's good. Weather's finally turning out to be nice outside. Finally, after
Matt,
a long winter.
It's been a long time since it's been this warm out. You can feel the summer coming, and there's another reason to believe that the summer is here. You finally get that feeling because the NBA playoffs are about to start. But Matt, before we get into that, we have to talk baseball because there's a lot going on, and it's going on with the Mets. It's not the Yankees this time. It's the Metropolitans who are off to this fast start, and I need to get your take on it right away because you are the diehard Mets fan. How are you feeling?
I'm pumped. I mean, I wake up this morning, I look at the standings like I always do every day, and I look up and the Mets are tied with the Braves. And who would have thought the Braves would have been up there too for first place? They're both 6-3 to start the season. Now I know it's only 9 games, but listen, as a Met fan, you have to be ecstatic. They just swept the Phillies for the first time in 2 years. I know the Phillies haven't been, the Phillies in a couple of years now. They have a lot of aging veterans, but my goodness, I mean, great pitching performances from the Mets all around. DeGrom, Harvey, last night Nice went 6 1/3. Really just great performances, and the bats have been hitting. They really have come alive. D'Arnaud, I mean, my goodness, has really swung with the bat very well, and he was one of my sleepers early on that I said really needed to start off, the season the right way after being sent down last year to AAA when he was, batting in the 200s. The guy right now is second amongst all catchers in MLB in average, OPS, hits, RBIs. Last night, another big home run for d'Arnaud. Duda with his first home run of the year, a big fly. I'm loving every single moment of this. The crowd's excited, is electric. Especially the night when Harvey pitched his first game back at Citi Field. I mean, the crowd was just roaring. You could even hear it just while I was watching on TV and also on the radio, listening to the radio. You could just hear the excitement in the crowd. And this is the kind of thing that, for Mets fans, we've been waiting for. This field, Citi Field, can be rocking. It can really be reminiscent to the old days of Shea, back in 1986 and 2000 when the teams were good. And we need this. And this is really our time right now. And I know it hurts right now. Obviously, we took a big blow the other day. David Wright goes down with the right hamstring. Should be out probably 2 to 3 weeks. Andy Alderson was cautioning it's probably going to be about 3. But they called up Eric Campbell instead. What did he do? He had a base knock last night. Everybody got on base for the Mets. Even John Neese had an RBI single. So really all around, it's just been exciting to watch. And, every night with the pitchers that they have, Antonio, you really feel like the Mets are going to be in the game.
Yeah, you really get the sense just from watching these games that the fans are starting to believe in this team. They're going to start to show up to the games. Every day you turn on a Met game, I think you're going to see the stands. A little bit more and more to capacity. I think the stadium is going to start to fill up. And for me, the guy right now, it's been Lucas Duda. Matt, you look back just maybe a little less than 2 years ago. It was a battle in spring training between Lucas Duda and Ike Davis, and kudos to the Mets for making the right decision on that one because honestly, the fans, everyone would have been on them if they would have made a mistake like that. They ended up trading away Ike Davis to Pittsburgh, and the rest is history. And Duda's taken over that spot at first base, and the most important part is that his bat is alive. He's hit he's got 12 hits. He hit the home run last night. I think it was his first of the season. He's got 7 ribbies. I don't know what else to be said. 4 doubles. He's hitting .353, leading the team. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, Duda obviously is a big piece of this lineup. Especially he's going to be called upon for the power right now. Right in the middle of the lineup, he can bat 3rd, 4th, 5th in the lineup. Duda obviously has been more comfortable, I feel, at the plate too when they finally switched him over to first base, like you said, when Davis got traded, because Duda was just awful in the outfield. I mean, left field he was just lost. So I think defensively he's actually a really good first baseman, and I think it's kind of taking pressure off him at the plate as well. And now having veterans in the lineup like Kadire, like Wright, obviously, and then having Granderson atop, kind of takes a little bit the pressure off of Duda. Where he doesn't have to necessarily be the guy every night. But you're right. I mean, he really is just mashing right now. He had a long home run last night and also a double. Is not much more to be said. Duda's hitting very well. Even with Granderson with a low average, he's getting on base, so that's what you want out of your leadoff hitter, obviously. D'Arnaud, obviously in the 2-hole, looks really nice. He's going to see a lot of good pitches in that 2-hole, a lot of fastballs, and got 2 more hits last night in a walk. So, the Mets lineup right now, while on paper may not be the sexiest lineup, it's getting the job done. It really is. Granderson, Darno, Duda, Kadire, Murphy, and Campbell, the first six spots in the lineup. It's not bad. Campbell was a professional hitter. He was mashing the ball in AAA, so he was the obvious guy to come up to replace Wright and take over for the next 2 or 3 weeks. But if the Mets can, obviously have the pitching that they've been having, and obviously there's going to be off nights here and there, but I mean, Cologne, Harvey, DeGrom, and Neese have been pitching great so far. If they can keep them in the game, they're in it every night. And the bullpen's been great too. So really, it's just a matter of, if the Mets can just scratch out a couple of runs here and there, the pitching's going to keep them in the ball game.
Absolutely. And yeah, Granderson's the other guy, but aside from Lucas Duda, that I have really taken notice of. He's been moved around the lineup a little bit. I think he's still hitting leadoff right now. But, the Mets brought in Kevin Long, the hitting coach over from the Yankees, and Granderson's leading the team in walk. I think he might be leading the MLB in walk. He's drawn 10 walks in the first 7 games that they've played, 6 games.
And that's what you want out of your leadoff hitter. You want him just to get on base. So you know what? I'm fine with the average. You know what? If he's got a low average, but you know what? He had 2 hits last night, and that raised his average about 100 points. So,
but do you think his power is going to be compromised hitting in that leadoff spot? The pressure to get on base. Do you think he's going to his home run numbers, stuff like that? You think those are going to go down?
I don't think necessarily it's going to be compromised. I think he's a professional hitter, and he knows, what his job is and what he's asked to do. So, is he going to hit a few less? I mean, I think he might. He's not going to be the 25-30 home run guy that he was with Detroit, or the 40 home run guy he was with the Yankees, obviously. But I think he's still capable of hitting, anywhere from 15 to 18 home runs in that leadoff spot. But I want from Granderson is just to get on base, work the count. He's also one of the leaders in pitches seen per at bat, which helps the batters behind him obviously see what the pitcher has that day. So I just want this guy to get on base. I want this guy to steal some bases like he did a couple years ago. He's still good runner, smart guy on the base path. So I'm okay with him not hitting the home runs. Honestly, I think the Mets front office is fine with that too. Otherwise, they wouldn't be having him lead off. They would have gone with Lagares, who was leading off pretty much the whole time in spring training. So it was a little odd. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago where we saw Lagares, batting 6th, 7th, even 8th in the lineup when he was batting leadoff for most of spring training. So Granderson, I think they know exactly what they want to do, and I think it's working out so far for them.
Yeah, another guy, Michael Gazzara, their big off-season acquisition. He's been okay. He hasn't been anything great. He's hitting 273, which I guess you'll take. You can worry a little bit about the 13 strikeouts, but no. Going back to Granderson, I think he's seeing the ball really well, because if you remember last year, the start he got off to was horrendous. His first year with the Mets, that was bad.
He was getting booed for a good month and a half.
Bad.
Yeah,
he was having 3 or 4 strikeout games. Fast forward to this season, mentioned Kevin Long. He's only struck out 4 times, and he's drawn those 10 walks. He's got the 5 hits, and I wouldn't worry too much about the average. I know it's only at 185, but I think that he'll find a comfort zone wherever Terry Collins decides to keep him in the lineup.
And honestly, average is overrated, I think, too. I think that's why, a lot of, the newspaper metrics have come into play, the OPS and on-base percentage and all that stuff. Because, honestly, Granderson had a couple of really, really strong at-bats where he really hit the ball well, and, the guys just made really good plays on him. And a couple days ago, there was a diving catch in left field that took away extra base hit from him. So I'm not really worried about his bat. He looks good at the plate, and obviously he's drawing walks, which he likes. So I'll take, the average right now as long as he's just getting on base and, moving runners over.
Yeah, the thing with the Mets is it's similar to last year. I say similar in the sense that their pitching is so dominant, and this year I think they're just getting the runs. The bats are alive, right off the bat. No pun intended. This season, it's so early, and the Mets have the longest winning streak in the MLB at 4 games. I know because Tampa Bay and Kansas City both lost last night. So the Mets do have that 4-game winning streak. They've swept the Phillies already. It's a good day to be a Mets fan.
It's nice to see. It really is nice to see, and it's weird to look at the standings though. It's kind of flipped. If you really look at the Nationals, the Phillies are at the bottom, and then the Braves and Mets are at the top. Now we thought the Mets would probably be somewhere in the middle, probably 3rd or 4th, but we all thought Miami was going to be a lot better. We thought the Nationals were going to be the clear-cut favorite, and listen, they probably will still be once they get all their horses back too. Obviously Anthony Rendon is still hurt, Denard Span is still hurt, so they're trying to get their players back, and obviously Steven Strasburg too has been struggling mightily too. So I still expect the Nationals to win this division, but the Mets, I'll tell you what, if they keep pitching the way they are, again, the key is pitching with this team because they're also going to get Bobby Parnell and Vic Black back in May, which is going to be very important for this bullpen, going along with Familia, who's been tremendous in closing the games out for them too. He had an off night last night, but didn't even get in the game, and they won 6-1.
Not to interrupt you, but we haven't got a chance to discuss, Henry Mejia's suspension, and that's what thrust Familia into that role. But like you said, he's been pitching really well in that closing role.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's nice to see Familia get the job, and also, a lot of scouts and fans were kind of wanting to see what Familia could do in that ninth inning role, and a lot of people thought that he was going to be better than Mejia as a closer because his stuff translates better to the ninth inning for whatever that you want to take that with. But Mejia, yeah, I mean it's what can you say? Another 80 games he's going to be out, and if the Mets do make the playoffs, he's not going to be eligible for the playoff roster either. So
really,
yeah, it's a new rule that they put in place about a year ago.
Oh, come on!
And you know what though, it's his own fault.
Who was it that said that was it Melky Cabrera that was out for a while, maybe the whole entire year, was it with San Francisco, and then he came back for the playoffs, or am I just delusional?
No, I think you're right. Yeah, that was Melky Cabrera, and he came back, right. That was the whole...
And then they
created a website that was trying to cover it up, and agents were all in on it, yeah.
So I guess he's kind of set the precedent. They said, no, we're not going to allow this anymore, and these guys aren't going to be eligible for the playoffs. I guess it's a good rule. I mean...
I'm for it.
Not in this case if you're a Mets fan, obviously, because he's one of your bigger guys in the bullpen, but...
You know what, though? If there's any position that you can afford to lose right now, it's probably closer, because you really have probably legitimately three guys that could close, in Vic Black, Parnell, and Familia. So I'm not too worried about it. I would like to see, obviously, Henry Mejia on this roster. He makes the team better. I love his excitement, his enthusiasm after the games, but he did it to himself, so there's no one else to blame but himself. So,
Matt, going over to the Yankees, I don't know. It's been weird. It's been really weird. A-Rod continues to be, their best player, and the Yankees are not. They're not playing well. They're struggling in all aspects of the game: base running, hitting, defense. Gregorius is still making errors, and A-Rod is leading the team in batting average, 286. He's got 7 RBIs, and his OBP is 394. I guess. The one good thing you've seen from the Yankees is that Mark Teixeira isn't having that notoriously slow start to the season which he tends to have every year. But this year he's got 3 home runs. He's playing a little bit better. I mean, the average is down, but the Yankees overall, it might be a long season.
Yeah, well, speaking of slow starts, the guy that's having the slow start, who you really need to count on, is Carlos Beltran. I mean, you look at his numbers. His on-base percentage is 211. His slugging is 286. He has no home runs yet. He does have 6 RBIs, but he's got 8 strikeouts, 2 walks. I mean, his OPS is 496. So that's obviously your on base and slugging combined.
Mm-hmm.
He's not hitting for any power at all. He is healthy, which is good. Obviously, you want to keep him healthy and ready for the postseason if the Yankees do get that far. But right now, as a Yankee fan, you can't be comfortable at all with the starting pitching. Although Evaldi,
absolutely not.
Evaldi did pitch well. I mean, he struck out 9. 7 were swinging strikeouts, but it took him 101 pitches to pitch 5 innings. I mean, you can't do that.
That's crazy. Yeah, and CC, he picked up his second loss the other night. He hasn't looked terrible, but I guess it's a combination of bad luck and just the way the games have played out for him. But he's 0-2 already. Tanaka redeemed himself against Boston on Sunday Night Baseball. That was a little bit good. That was a little better to see, I guess. I'm still not totally sold on him and being healthy, I guess, overall. But yeah, like you said, the Yankees pitching, it's in shambles right now. Or it's close to being in shambles. Tanaka is the guy, and if he goes down, it's definitely over. Like you thought they maybe have a chance if they lost a Tanaka or someone to squeak in for maybe contend for a wild card spot. But it's the way it's looking right now. They need all these guys to stay healthy. They can't afford one injury, and yeah, it's going to be a wait and see for the Yankees.
Yeah, no question about it. Because if you look down at AAA or even AA, who do you have that you're calling up if one of these starting pitchers goes down?
I really have no idea.
I mean, the one big prospect they have, Luis Servino, is at least 2 years away. He's a young kid, so you really don't have anybody. unless they want to try to trade for a player that maybe a team just kind of wants to get rid of. Like
knowing the Yankees, that's what they'll do. They'll trade for someone right before the All-Star break. They'll take on a big contract and they'll just say whatever.
Or they're gonna give up more of their decent prospects that they have and not have any. That's the problem. They have to build with the farm. But the thing with the Yankees, though, is that the Yankees have had this whole mantra and this whole, perception that, they have to win every year. And unfortunately, guys get old and you lose your core players and you need to rebuild. And you're going to have lean years. You have to. But if you're a Yankee and if you're a fan of them, you can't take that because you've had 15, 20 years of nothing but success. I think what they really need to do, though, is they really need to collect themselves and, take the next 2 or 3 years to really kind of assemble a new roster and a new collection of talent because you can't keep signing these aging veterans to long-term contracts.
Yeah.
It doesn't work out. I mean, you can count on one hand how many guys with, 6+ years contract work out. I mean, Derek Jeter was one of them. But other than that, for the Yankees, a lot of these contracts, Kevin Brown, Jarrett Wright, Carl Pavano, I mean, you can go on and on. They don't work out.
We talked a little bit about that last week. The one surprise for the Yankees, and I say surprise because I know you hate him because of what he did to your team. But Chris Young is hitting. Chris Young's hitting .318, 2 home runs, 3 doubles.
Don't bring his name up.
He's slugging .727.
Why did you have to bring his name up?
OPS
you know how I feel about Chris Young.
Is over 1,000.
Chris Young couldn't hit a softball. He couldn't hit a beach ball when he was with the Mets, and now he's hitting home runs with the Yankees left and right. I mean, come on, man.
Oh, speaking of that, I'm watching the Mets game last night. When Duda hits the home run, and I'm seeing over at Citi Field, that you can really tell now that the walls have been moved in because Duda hits a bomb and it goes over the wall, the home run wall now, and there's just this giant gap in between the wall that's there now and the previous wall where the seats start. I mean, his home run last night, it did clear the original wall because it went right into the seats, but I think it's just funny to see there's this trench just in between the home run wall and the original design wall of the stadium. So
I forgot who it was the other day. I think maybe it was Murphy at a home run, and it just barely cleared over. And they said that was if it was last year's,
a flyout.
It was a flyout, right?
Yeah.
So listen. The
You'll
ballpark,
you'll take it.
The ballpark is playing fair now. Leave it as is. I like it. I like having the big gaps too.
Yeah.
Duda's double last night was hit right in the gap between left and center. And if he was a little faster, that may have been a triple. But obviously he's a bigger guy. But I like the way it's playing. I actually really do. I think it's an interesting ballpark. It plays fair now. So just let it be. If you're a Met fan, you can't complain anymore about the ballpark. It's fair.
Yeah.
And especially, if you're going to rely heavily on starting pitching, why would you want to move the fences in more? You want to have your pitchers at an advantage.
Right.
Now, obviously, Harvey, DeGrom are more strikeout pitchers. So you don't have to worry too much about the home runs. They don't give up too many. But some of the other guys like Dylan G's a fly ball pitcher. Guys like that. You want to keep the ball in the ballpark. So let them have that advantage.
Right. No, you're right. They need to play to their strengths. They need to set. I think more thought should have been put into the design of the stadium, but it's a little too late for that.
I agree. And there should have been more of like a Met paraphernalia, more of a Met feel when they opened it. And they've kind of righted the ship along the way. They being the Wilpons, because when you first go to that stadium, you think you're walking into Ebbets Field.
Right.
We know that the Wilpons have this love for the Brooklyn Dodgers, and Fred was very close with Sandy Koufax, so we understand all that. But the Mets need to have more of a Met presence. I wish the seats. I talked to a buddy of mine. We wish the seats were like orange and blue. We wish that there was more photos and vintage stuff up of the Mets from their years, because they did have some successful years, and you want to have the fans walk around and see that and experience it and embrace it. The Yankees. When you go to Yankee Stadium, it's like you're going to a museum. It really is. I went there. Actually, I was there for the Sunday night game against the Red Sox, and we watched Tanaka pitch. And you're walking around, and there's all the museum with all the baseballs, and you have all the banners and the championships and all that stuff on there. And everywhere you walk, it feels like you're in Cooperstown. That's what it really feels like, which is wonderful because the Yankees have tremendous history, obviously, and you want to show that and demonstrate it, and that's why you have the fans there. But getting back to what the Yankees really need to do, boy oh boy, it's going to be a tough year, man. If this is a sign of things to come for them, and God forbid somebody gets hurt, and God forbid that Tanaka goes down, God, this could be a very long summer. And you can already see Girardi's kind of getting a little tired too. In his post-game press conference last night, he was already kind of saying that they need to step up and big now. They've lost every series so far. They've won one game in every series, and obviously losing. They need to beat the teams in the AL East to have any kind of shot, and now they're going to play Tampa Bay. So we'll see how they do this weekend.
Yeah, I think a big turning point. I don't know if you saw on Saturday night. It was the I think it was Friday or Saturday. They played that 19-inning game with Boston.
Oh, yeah.
And I was watching, and for some stupid reason I ended up wasting 7 hours of my life that night watching them lose.
You watched the whole game?
I watched, pretty much from like the fourth inning on. I was tuned in.
Wow, God bless you.
Yeah, I mean I had nothing else to do that night, so I was like, why not? Let's see this rivalry and see if it's still there. And it was. I thought it was a competitive game. I liked the way the Yankees fought back, but I knew in my mind, if they lose this game, they're gonna they're gonna be down and they're gonna drop. I knew that there's no way they were winning the game the next day. I think it was Friday night because on Saturday they had a 1:00 start.
Yep.
And the turnaround, they're getting 5 hours of sleep and they're gonna come back and play another game. There was no way. So I think that was a little bit of a turning point for them. It got them down, and we'll see if they can pick themselves back up. I think Tanaka's pitching in a couple days, so we'll see what happens. Evaldi, the new guy that they got in the Prado trade, he showed his stuff last night. It wasn't bad, but overall, it's gonna be tough because they can't afford one injury, and it's bound to happen eventually.
Yeah, no, absolutely, you're absolutely right. And the Yankees were in the game last night. They were winning. When Evaldi left, he was in line to win the game, and in the sixth inning, that's when it got away, and they, the Orioles put a 5-spot on the bullpen. It was who was it? It was David Carpenter and I think it was Chris Martin who pitched the sixth inning, and they just gave up 5 runs, and it was that was it after that. But Evaldi, like I said, he pitched well, strikes out, a lot of guys. You want to see that, obviously, but you want to see him not have to throw 101 pitches. If he can give you 6-7 innings and then you just go right to Betances and Miller, I mean, that's obviously, a beautiful thing right there. But, the Yankees unfortunately had to go to the pen early, and, it ended up costing them.
Yeah. I mean, I as a fan, it's just like, it's bland. It's weird because I'm watching the Mets more than I've said it over and over on the show. I've been watching the Mets, I've been tuned into the Mets, following the Mets more than I have been the Yankees. Call me a fraud, call me a fake fan, whatever you want. I just think that they're the more exciting team to watch.
Without question, they're fine. And you're not a fraud at all. Listen, I still watch the Yankees. I want to know what's going on with the teams across town, but it's you have to admit it's a little bit more fun to watch these guys, these younger players, kind of come together and do well, and you have some finally you have something to root for, and it's nice for a change. But I do expect the Yankees to kind of collectively come back. I'm sure Cashman is on the phone trying to do whatever he can to scrape some pieces together, because I tell you what, I mean, especially too, we forgot about too, Brett Gardner was out last night, and he's if they lose him for any kind of amount of time, that's going to be tough too. He's been one of the most consistent hitters for them the last couple of years too, and you need him in that lineup.
All right, Matt, let's take a quick break. We're going to come back because, as I mentioned before, the summer's it's almost here. The weather's warm, and NBA playoffs are a sign of that. They're what takes us right into the summer months up until free agency, which starts July 1st. But we're going to break down all the matchups. We're even going to talk a little bit of the draft odds or the lottery odds, because those are out officially. The Knicks did not finish with the worst record in the NBA, but we'll get into that in a little bit. We'll be right back.